All right, semester exam review video tutorial, part 2 of 2, starting with 28. This is to state whether triangle ABC and triangle AED are congruent. Well, notice that I do have all three pairs of corresponding sides congruent. I have two of them marked with a single slash, two marked with a double slash, and two marked as 7. So, yes, I could use side, side, side for that, but that's not my only option here. So you can do this by SSS, or notice that you also have a corresponding angle marked congruent. So you could also use SAS. Now you only have one angle marked in each one of those triangles, so you can only use SAS because it has one A. You can't use AAS or ASA because those have two A's in them, okay? So you can say yes by SSS or SAS in this one. Okay. 29. Which pair of triangles are congruent by ASA? Okay, so for this one, we're looking for a pair of triangles where you have two angles on one side marked congruent, and the S is between the A's, so the side has to be between the angles. So notice on part A, that side is between the angles in the first triangle, but not in the second one. So that second triangle doesn't work, so we can't use A. On part B, the angle is between the sides. We have two sides marked. So this would actually be an SAS situation. And that's not what they're asking for. On C, again, we have a side angle side situation, and that's not what they're asking for. Okay. So on D, notice that, yes, if you do flip that other triangle over, you can see it a little bit easier that you do have an angle side angle situation on both triangles. So D is our answer here for number 29. Okay? All right, on 30, can you use the SAS postulate, the AAS theorem, or both to prove these triangles congruent? Well, there is one piece that's not marked that you can mark. What is it? The vertical angles. Good. So go ahead and mark those vertical angles with two curves each. Those are the angles that are across from each other in the middle. Okay. So now that I know that I have this vertical angle pair that I can mark congruent, let's see what I got. I do have angle, angle, side on both of these. Angle, angle, side. The side is not between the angles, so the S is not between the A's. So I can definitely use AAS. But I can't use SAS because I don't have a second side in each one of these triangles congruent. So AAS it is, which is going to be C on this one. And again, these answers will be shuffled around on the actual exam. Okay. On 31, based on the given information, what can you conclude and why? So it gives us some information, but there's nothing at all marked in our figure, okay? So we need to mark it. It says that angle H is congruent to angle L, so put a curve in each one of those. Okay. It tells us that HJ is congruent to JL, so put a single slash through each one of those. And we also have a vertical pair of angles here at J. So mark your vertical angles congruent, which should be something that we always do if they aren't marked. So given the given information and that pair of vertical angles, which method can we use to prove congruence? We have two angles on a side and the sides between the angles, so the S should be between the A's. So we should use ASA. Notice there are two answers here that show ASA. So we are going to look at the congruent statement to see which one's in the correct order. They both start with HIJ. HIJ. Well, I is this really skinny angle that's not marked out here, and it corresponds to K. So we want to choose the one that has I and K in the same position. I is in the middle in HIJ, and K is in the middle in LKJ, sorry. So I and K are both in the middle position in answer A. So answer A is the one. Probably won't be A on the actual exam. Make sure you understand why it's A. Okay. 32. From the information in the diagram, can you prove triangle FDG congruent to triangle FDE? Well, all we have marked so far is angles. And angle, angle, angle is not a way to prove congruence. It's only a way to prove similarity. But we do have a reflexive side here. So if we mark reflexive side DF congruent to itself, then we can prove these triangles congruent by angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side, since you have all those angles marked. So yes, you can prove them congruent by AAS or ASA. All right, 33. I see a triangle with two congruent sides. What does that tell us? Good. The two bottom angles, two base angles are congruent because this is an isosceles triangle. Base angles are congruent. Okay? So, if one of those base angles says x and the other one's also x, so you could actually set up an equation for this. And you could say x plus 38 equals 180. Okay, so 2x plus 38 equals 180. Subtract 38 from 180. Now I have 2x equals 142. And divide both sides by 2. And it gives me that x equals 71. All right. The next one on the exam is number 36. On 36, here we're dealing with a mid-segment. Mid-segment. The mid-segment is half the length of the side that is parallel to. Half the length of the side it is parallel to. What that means is that 2x minus 9 is half of 14. What's half of 14? 7. So we know that 2x minus 9 equals 7. Set that equation up and then solve for x. Add 9 to both sides. And I get that 2x equals 16. Divide both sides by 2. And I get that x equals 8. And again, those values may well be different on the actual exam, so make sure you understand the concepts. Okay, we're doing all three problems on the next page. 37 tells us that Q is equidistant from the sides of those angles, which means it is an angle bisector. So we know that those two angles are going to be equal to each other. So let's set that up. We can say that for x plus 5 equals 8x minus 11. And obviously we'll need to solve for x here, but notice what they're asking you. They're not asking you for the value of x. They're wanting you to find the measure of angle RST. RST, notice that RST is both of those angles together. So once you find the value of x, substitute that back in, and then find those angles together. So if I subtract 4x from both sides, we've got 5 equals 4x minus 11. So if I add 11 to both sides, then I've got that 4x equals 16. Dividing both sides by 4 gives me that x equals 4. Note that your answer is not 4. You got to substitute this 4 back in here. Okay, so if I substitute it in for 4x plus 5 and say 4 times 4 plus 5, 4 times 4 is 16, plus 5 gives us an angle measure here of 21. Notice on the other one, if you substitute the 4 in here, 8 times 4 is 32, minus 11 again is 21, and 21 and 21 gives us the measure of angle RST. ST, which is 42. Please make sure you take good notes on that so that you understand exactly how to do that problem on the exam. Okay? 38 wants the length of AB. It says that DB is a median of the triangle and AC is 26. Okay, well, if it's a median of the triangle, that means that it meets at the midpoint. That means that B is the midpoint of AC, so AB is congruent to AC. If AB is congruent to BC, sorry. So if AC in its entirety is 26, that means that each one of those pieces is 13. So AB is 13 and BC is 13. It wants the length of AB. So we find that AB is 13. Okay. 39. In triangle ACE, G is the centroid. Remember, the centroid is what cuts those medians into a 2/3 and a 1/3 piece, a short piece and a long piece. Okay, this tells you that BE in its entirety is 18. So if we divide 18 by 3, we get 6, which means our short piece is 6 and our long piece is 12. 6 is 1/3 of 18, 12 is 2/3 of 18. And that's what it wants. It wants the length of those pieces. So BG is 6 and GE is 12. And again, BE will probably not be 18 on the exam. Make sure you understand the concept. Flipping over, we're going to look at 41 and 42. We are now into chapter 5 review. Okay. So 41 wants the smallest angle of triangle ABC. Remember, smallest across from smallest, biggest across from biggest. Make a note of that. Smallest across from smallest, biggest across from biggest. Now this wants the smallest angle, so we want to look for the shortest side. The shortest side is 9. 9 is on AC. The angle across from that is the other letter, which is B. So B is the smallest angle. Okay. On 42, it wants to know which 3 lengths could be lengths of the sides of a triangle. In order for them to be sides of the triangle, the 2 smallest must add up to bigger than the longest. Okay, so here we're adding the 2 smallest numbers together and seeing if it's more than the third. On A, 12 plus 15 equals 17, not bigger than. So 12 plus 5 is not greater than 17. So we know that that one won't work. Extra copy for you. Okay. On B, 10 plus 15 is 25. 25 is greater than 24. So we know that B works, but just for good measure, I'm going to look at C and D also. We're on number 42. For number C, letter C, the 2 smallest are 9 and 11. 9 plus 11 is 20. 20 is not greater than 22, so no, C doesn't work. And for D, 7 plus 6 is 13, and we know that 13 is not greater than 21. So our only possible answer here is B. That's good. Okay. The next one that is on the exam is 46. On 46, it says a road sign is in the shape of a regular pentagon. How many sides does a pentagon have? 5 sides. Good. Okay, it says what is the measure of each angle on the sign? So to find the sum of the interior angles of a pentagon, we take n minus 2 and multiply that times 180. But this time we're going to have to divide that by the number of sides because it wants each angle. So n minus 2 times 180 divided by n. No, this is each angle on the sign. If you're looking at a road sign, you're only looking at the interior angles. So for this one, we want 3 times 180. Whatever we get for that sum of the interior angles, we're going to divide that by 5 because there are 5 angles in a pentagon. 3 times 180 is 540. Dividing that by 5. Do you believe we get 108? Okay. So now we're looking at 47. Conveniently, it's also a pentagon. We already know that the sum of the interior angles is a pentagon. It's 540. We just did that. Sum of interior angles of pentagon equals 540. Okay? So we are going to add up everything that's in there and find that missing angle, okay, which is supplementary to angle A. So we're going to say 118 plus 96 plus 115 plus 104 plus, I'm just going to say x, equals 540. Okay, what we're doing is we're working towards that missing angle so that we can subtract it from 180 and get angle A. Okay? Anybody already added these? Let me pull up a calculator. Verify real quick. $433? Okay. All right, so adding those numbers up, I get 433 plus x equals 540. Subtracting 433 from both sides, we get that x is 107. Okay, that is not my answer. 107 is supplementary to what I'm looking for. So I can say 107 plus angle A, which is what we're looking for, equals 180. So subtracting 107 from 180 gives us what we're looking for. Oops, which means that angle A equals 73. All right. Flipping over to these last pages, we only have 3 more problems. Looking at 52. 52, find the measure of the numbered angles in the rhombus. In the rhombus, we know that the diagonals are perpendicular. So we already know that angle 1 is 24, it's 90, sorry. I was looking at the 24. Angle 1 is 90. Okay. We also know that opposite angles are congruent and that the diagonals bisect the angle. So we know that angle 2 is also 24. And the one right next to it is 24. And all of the angles in the middle are 90. So to find angle 3, we can do triangle sum theorem and say 90 plus 24 plus angle 3 equals 180. Or we could simply notice that since this is a right triangle, the 2 acute angles must add up to 90. So 24 plus angle 3 equals 90. So all we really need to do is subtract 24 from 90 to get our answer here. The pen is going out. Okay. So for angle 3, 90 minus 24 or 66. Okay. All right. 53 and 54, and we're done. So here we're looking at a rectangle KLMN. You guys have seen this problem before. In KLMN, it gives you an expression for KM and it gives you an expression for LN. Well, in a rectangle, the diagonals are congruent. Let's make a note of that. Diagonals congruent. This should be freshest in your mind because we just finished this. So what that means is that those expressions are equal to each other, or 10x plus 24 equals 64. And solve for x. So you need to subtract 24 from both sides and get that 10x equals 40. So x equals 4. Well, that one was too easy. Okay. 54 is our last one. This says that LM is the mid-segment of this trapezoid. AB is 72. And DC is 104. The mid-segment is half of the sum. Okay? So LM is half of 72 plus 104. Or 2 times LM. And I put a little x on LM. 2x equals 72 plus 104. So 2x equals 176. So all I need to do is divide 176 by 2, and we're good. 82. What did we get? You got what? Oh, I'm sorry. I think I did that the last time we did this too. You're correct. It is 88. That's why I have y'all here. Okay, so x is 88. That's it. I'm going to go validate these answers before I upload and post this to make sure that I'm posting everything correct. Thank you for watching.